So today is sort of an introduction in a way to performance management in a brand new way. But of course, many of us are not new to performance management overall. We've been doing it successfully, but we have some new things happening with Cornerstone and a new direction overall. So while it is to Cornerstone, it's sort of an evolution of where we've come from. In a recent town hall, maybe you saw President Wilson talk about how, we've come through a lot together over the last couple of years, the pandemic, ways of working together, and now we're turning the page and moving forward. We have so much to rally around together, so much excellence that we've seen, things to be proud of as an R1 institution. We've worked very hard to get where we are. And now we're going to, continue to rally together around and get to that next step, that moment in time that is ours now to seize. So with Cornerstone Conversations, we feel that we have this moment as well to achieve excellence, and not only through a tool or a process or a system, but through the great conversations and relationships that we have together and that we build together. So it's those conversations that we want to start with. They're built on honesty and trust. They're built on our relationships. So take a moment as we start off and just think about your experience with performance management as a whole, the process, the system, the aspects of it. If you could put one word in chat this morning that would kind of sum up your feelings about performance management as you've known it, what might that word be? What might that feeling be? I invite you to add into chat. And you can even come off mute and say a word or say a feeling that just strikes you. Disconnected, I see.
We've got one in there: stress, once a year anxiety, stunted, confusing, disconnected. Actually, Sharon, you're muted.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, so look what we see in the chat. Awkward. We see accomplishments too. And I'm going to put up some of these voices we've also heard across campus from stakeholders, just from doing interviews and talking with one another. That crunching to a deadline, one and done. We started, we put on the shelf, we may not see it again for a year. There's a lot of checks in the process, approvals needed and so forth.
She should not have to pay.
Maybe ways of providing ongoing feedback weren't so easy, in the other system, or we had to find our own ways to do that together. This whole one size fits all in the competencies that we saw. It might not have been the best way to personalize for our particular employer, for ourselves or our team. And then overall, what was the value we got out of it for the time commitment that we felt we put into it? So I hear, again, look in our chat, overwhelmed, stunted, is sort of kind of fear and loathing. If we're honest, if we're thinking about it in a way that some of us have experienced this way. Well, we don't want it to be that way, right? Relief when it's done. We want it to be valuable for us as leaders and us as staff members. We want to achieve excellence through performance management. So as we said with President Wilson's kickoff for this year and our strategic planning, we want to reimagine what we can be if it's done correctly. This is a quote from Rob Miller, who was co-lead of our redesign process team. We're going to hear a little bit more about that team. Don Aziz, also a co-lead, is with us on this call as well. So they have some great insights that they might be able to share with us. But we know from research that when performance management and the process is perceived to be fair, when it's effective, it also results in 60% of organizations outperforming their peers. And Rob sort of sums it up here. When it's done right, when it's done well, when we feel enabled and empowered to do it, we achieve success because of it, for our goals, for the meaning that we want to see for our growth. So we set about to reimagine what this could look like. And we created a redesign team. Members across campus came together. Again, it was co-led by Don Aziz. You can see the team members here. And their charge was to support this culture of coaching and development, not just create a new system, certainly do that as well, align that with our strategic priorities, and help us achieve even higher levels of engagement and accountability through this process. So they went through many months of research, of benchmarking, of collecting stakeholder information. And several of you are also a part of that across campus as well. In our research, we found out that 6 out of 10 people say their review was incomplete. And that's from some studies done in SHRM and Forbes and others. So a majority of people say their review at the end of the year was not complete. 48% felt that raising performance conversations in between reviews was not a comfortable thing for them to do. Staff or leaders, we want to, but we didn't really feel comfortable with how to do it. A majority of people would be more effective if they had that feedback. So they might be able to do their job even better. They might be able to collaborate even better, achieve their goals. And 94% of them seek ongoing feedback. So we want this in between. We want this ability to be proactive, to adjust, to know when we're on track and we're doing well as when we might need to, change our course or changes have happened for us. This is interesting. Some people felt like a quarterly, at minimum, check-in would be nice to achieve that, to get those points of feedback. And 68% of leaders felt that they didn't even learn about some of these concerns. There was no opportunity platform as the job was going on and priorities were, playing out in the day-to-day until the end of the review cycle. So knowing those things, we went to our stakeholders here within Wayne State University, and we asked them as well, if you could reimagine the system, this process, getting the most value out of it, what would that look like? And so members of the redesign team partnered with, again, groups across campus at all levels and from different schools, colleges, and divisions to understand what that might look like and make recommendations for our redesign. We heard from almost 200 people in doing that work together, and we utilized that to guide how we would go about creating a process. And what we learned was that there were 3 areas that we really wanted to see some improvements in, streamline, and maybe it's no surprise to you, we wanted to be more effective in what we do. We wanted to achieve our goals. We wanted the system to work for us, to work for our timing, and this crunch that we hear in some of the chat here, overwhelming relief when it's done. No, we wanted to be efficient. We want it to work well for everyone, not again, be that time crunch, and lead to better outcomes. And we want it to be engaging and have people be able to drive that process, both leaders and employees. And overall, well, we want to increase that value that we talked about and get to that place where we know that this is going to help us achieve our goals. And so here's Cornerstone Conversation sort of being born, if you will. Now we really focus on that word conversations, right? It's the ongoing interactions we have together. So today we want to support having those conversations for you. And this introduction is a way to increase your ability in that effectiveness area. Let's understand the Cornerstone basics today and jumpstart goal planning, or help you, for those who might have started the process already, get into the goal planning as a leader or staff member. We want to, again, move that needle on efficiency, right? Schedule and engage in conversations and touch points that we'll talk about. And we want to inspire us all to approach performance management in new ways that have worked in the past, not necessarily getting rid of our book, but writing our new chapters together. So we're going to really be achieving a culture of performance excellence aligned with where we want to be at Wayne State. Some key things that you need to know about the new system, and just some highlights. We hope you're going to experience more. It's now open all year long. So you can access it as leader and staff member. There's one form now instead of many different forms. The timing is going to be all on the same schedule. So we're going to move to a fiscal year timing. Now we know it's a short year this year. We kind of have a transition year, a bit of a condensed year, but we're gonna get through that transition, and then we're all next year going to be on the same place. So we have ways to help you do that. We're really aligned with the strategic plan. As you see, we're trying to make sure that our priorities are addressed in there, that we can talk about them throughout the process, and our values, the what is important. But for us at Wayne State, what makes us different? How we do it as well. So you'll see our values in there. We'll talk a little bit about that. There's also so many things. We're just still learning ourselves right now of the functionality and the ways we can utilize Cornerstone. So reporting and dashboards are just some of those things. Also, we have a focus on our development, both professional development in our roles, as well as career development. So you're going to see that the system supports that as far as its tools and resources, and so will our training. And there's even an opportunity to recognize accomplishments, whether it's performance or our values. And there are badges that you can actually award one of your staff members for attainment and achieving these things. And there's also, remember we saw the stats that quarterly check-in might even be optimal at minimum. Well, we decided, well, let's baby step there. And what the stakeholders helped us understand is a mid-year check-in would be really great. We'd like to see an opportunity to come in and just see how we're doing in progress to those goals and to the learning that we said we wanted to achieve. So for 2022, again, we'll talk about the timing. It's optional to do that check-in this year. We hope you'll do it. We'll hope there'll be one-on-one meetings, but we also see Cornerstone as a place for you to document these things, to keep them in one place, to have notes to refer to. And both of us as staff and leaders have that place to go to. And so those are some differences from maybe what you've experienced. And hopefully we'll change those words from, overwhelming and relief and fear and loathing to, wow, exciting, accomplishing, time is great, and so forth. All right, we're going to get pretty soon to a time where we're going to go through it, but I wanted to also talk about just the key elements of the process overall. So there are 3 formal interactions. You can see them in the middle of the circle. The first one is where we are right now. And this is a planning process, planning so that we get the most out of planning when we're implementing. So we're going to set performance goals. We're going to think about our professional and career development. And that's the first step we're going to focus on. Then we have that mid-year check-in. And really that's a progress check. It's not a review or a rating per se, but it's that check against where did we say we were and where do we want to be? Do we have any barriers? What did we achieve? Do we need some support? So we have the time to do that right along. And then we'll have our annual review where we're going to celebrate that success. So you can see that we're planning for success. We're making sure we're on track to hit our goals and be where we want to be. And then we're going to celebrate that and kind of renew that cycle for the next year. All around that circle in the lighter kind of teal area and the arrows, we're going to have these ongoing conversations within Cornerstone and outside of the system. So Cornerstone is a great tool for us to use, but the richness comes from how we use the tool and our interactions together, right? Those conversations, the actions we're taking, the learning that we're getting, all leading towards performance and enjoyment of our role. All right, we're going to show you some resources at the end as well. These are out there now. We have a Cornerstone website and it has all of this information. So you don't have to remember anything today necessarily, but I'll come back to this later on. What we'd like to do right now is do a very quick walkthrough, and then we're going to turn you loose into your breakout sessions so that you can experience it and play around with it yourself with a coach from HR. So if I can do this right, I'm just going to step through and go to the website, or excuse me, I'm going to go into Cornerstone. Now, I've gone in as one of our redesign team members, Matthew Allen, so that you can see the process from scratch as if you were just going in yourself. When you log into Cornerstone, excuse me, I have just a little bit of a tickle here. You'll come to the landing page. So here's your welcome main landing page. And you can always get to this landing page by clicking on our Wayne State logo up in the top. There's also a little hamburger menu over to the side. This menu can navigate and take you many places. So you'll become familiar with what you can go see through the hamburger menu. But today we're going to focus on just this first piece. Remember that first step, which is annual performance planning. So I'm going to click on that and it should be right in your tasks. One thing about Cornerstone is you can see those tasks right there. So I know what's due, what's coming up for me. And when I complete them, I'll know as well. All right, the first thing I'll point out here is just this little overview menu to the left where the house is. This menu is basically the steps that you'll take to complete planning for success. So the overview is just simply something to read to help you get started. If you have questions, that's right up front. You can always navigate back to this overview. You can also go into performance goals, which is where we're going to go next. And you can see those other elements we talked about, our Wayne State values, professional and career development, and then a submission when we're all done. And that's it as far as the steps to complete the planning piece. Now you'll also see this nice circle. We're going to make it turn green a little bit. It tells us when we've completed something and our progress of completion. So that's the percent. I haven't done anything yet, so it's at 0. Well, Matt might have, but you know, we're going to help him a little bit here. All right, so there's our overview. We're in the goal planning section now. And to get started, I'm simply going to click on the green button, Get Started. As it's changing over screens, you'll see that there are sometimes green links right in Cornerstone, and those will take you to those resources that we talked about that are available in Cornerstone or out to Accelerate. So if you need help, we have tried to build it in so that it's just in time when you need it. All right, when you get to your goals, you're going to notice that there's instructions. I'm going to point out this small, it might be small to read, but right down here it says total weight 0%. That's something that's a little new as well this year. And that means that all of the goals, whether I have 1 or 3 or 5, should add up to 100% in total. So it helps us to talk about priorities, right? To say, hey, this particular initiative we're working on, this goal, it's very important this year. We're going to focus on it. It's going to be 75% of what we do. And the other are, you know, 10 and 15, but they all should add up to 100. And you'll have the opportunity to do that. Again, you're going to have time to play. So I'm stepping through this a little bit quickly, but to add a goal, I simply click the Add Goal button. I give it a title. This is a test goal today, but Matthew will put in a title for his goal so he knows what it is. I'm going to write some more details here, a little of the who, what, when, where, why, how, okay? And I'm going to give it a start date. And then I'm going to give it a due date. Now the due date has to fall within our fiscal year end. So you'll probably want to have it fall into the September 30th timeframe this year. It is possible to extend that, and then the goal will remain in Cornerstone as well if it's outside of this year. So some little finite things you'll be learning as you go along. And then here's that weight button. So this goal is 75% of what we need to do this year. I can choose to add a file right here, an attachment outside, and then I would simply just save. And that goal should be added when I go back to my goals, it'll be there. And you can see that I've increased that little button. 20% of what I've needed to do has been completed. All right, so I can continue to add goals. I can continue to do that till I've added my goals. And then when I'm done, I'm going to get to the next screen. So let's say those are all my goals. I'm going to save and continue. And you can see that it takes me right to the next area, which is our Wayne State values. This is simply a reminder and a review for us. We don't need to do anything but just read through them and think about them as they are going to, help us achieve our goals this year. So it's a review for everyone. It's tied right into our values on the Wayne State site with some definitions and a little of the behaviors. What does it look like? So we review. Once we're done that, we save and continue. And we'll talk more about that outside of Cornerstone, right? Because we have strengths in those areas. We might need to strengthen them. Here's the professional development area. Now you can see my marker is still moving as I'm completing these steps. There's instructions for us. There's some resource here that help us if we need a little more fine tuning or digging in or having conversations. There's instructions for managers and staff. And there's simply 2 questions here to get started. What new knowledge and skills might be helpful in order to do what I need to do this year? I might list a few things here. Dawn, I'll get this done very soon. How could I begin to take action? What are some things that I might do? How might I go get that? Who might I talk to? So I can add that right there and we can get started here. Of course, I'm going to have more conversations with Dawn about this as we talk about how I'm achieving my goals this year and what I'm going to do. I'm going to save and continue. Career area again. So professional development in my role. How about where I want to go? Where do I see myself as I look ahead? And that could be, you know, a little bit down the road, short term, or a little bit more longer term. It could look very different if I'm, you know, early career, late career, a new employee. So it's very personal to where we want to go and what's meaningful to us. So a few questions here to prompt you to do that. What it might look like? What do I envision? Where am I going? So great places to start adding comments and suggestions in here, and then save and continue. And now I have basically completed the planning steps within Cornerstone. And the last thing for me to do is simply sign it. So I would type my name in here and click sign. I can, of course, add comments in all of these sections and put some details in there. And when I do that, it's going to send, Matthew's going to send this to his, he would be sending it to his manager. But if it was me, I could submit it and it would go to Dawn. And she's going to get a prompt to say, hey, Sharon's completed her goals. Take a look at them, review them, make comments, edit, have conversations, and approve them. And that's it. Now, I'm not going to submit this right now because then I'd be submitting Matthew's. So I'm just going to save and exit out of this time right now. Okay. But when you submit, just a couple quick tips, and then we're going to move on to you getting a chance to play around as well. Save and exit every time we'll save it so you can come back to it. So you have time to, you don't have to do it in one sitting. But once we save and submit, it's going to go to our manager and it's going to come off of the tasks here just for now. So I would not see this anymore. It would come out of tasks and I would be 100% complete. And I'd be waiting to speak with Dawn and talk about what we've put in there. We might change some things. She might edit some things, comments, whatever. And then when she approves it, it's in the system. So therefore, we can keep continuing to talk about those things. We might make changes or have more conversation about it. And I, as a staff member now, I can go in once it's approved and I can make changes and comments as well. Now, when I do that, again, Dawn will be flagged. So she'll know, hey, Sharon's made some changes. Probably we've talked about them, so she might not be surprised, but in case it's a change, she gets a chance to just check it and make sure. And then she can approve those again, and we can keep moving forward from there. All right, so again, a very quick demo for you today. Now we're going to go back in and let's see if you guys can go in and have some time. All right. So it's going to be your turn and we're going to do a couple things right now. We're going to have you log in to Cornerstone Conversations, and that's right through the main Academica sign-in area that you would normally do for other systems. You're going to see it's under Employee Resources and then under Administrative Systems. And it's going to be in alphabetical order. So Cornerstone Conversations is what you're looking for. That's where Wayne PM used to be. Now we have Cornerstone Conversations. All right, so you can take a moment to do that. And then what we're going to do is Julie's going to send us into a couple of breakout rooms. Thank you, Julie. And we're also going to put a couple of job aids. I'm going to put these in the chat right now. You don't need them to do this activity, but we thought we'd put them in chat anyway for you. They're also available on the website. So once again, you don't have to remember anything today. We're going to lead you to that website as well. But this user manual will help guide you through navigating through Cornerstone, okay? That'll help you. We're going to send you to the rooms. We're going to give you about 10 minutes or so to play around in there. You can ask questions, technically about the system. You can ask a little bit more about your goals or performance, any of those areas, but we're going to focus in on just the planning area right now, this first step in the process. And when we come back, we're going to hear about your experiences, kind of a quick impression about what you think, and maybe answer a question or two as time allows. What was really pressing for you today that would really help you to go forward. And we're also going to capture, anything else we can capture in chat and so forth, and make sure we can follow up on things as well in our learning and in our follow-up to the class. So Julie, how are we doing? Are we ready to send everybody away?
Yep, we're ready to go. Deb McCreary will be in breakout room number 1. She's an HR consultant who can answer questions and provide assistance. And I will be joining breakout room number 2 as soon as I get everybody moved. So I'm going to go ahead and send you, and you'll have 10 minutes with a 1-minute warning when we're all coming back.
All right. And I'll be here in the main room. If anything happens, technically, feel free to come back. I can always answer questions as well. So.
Yeah, and that's a good point. If there's a number of questions and we're having a hard time to get them all addressed, feel free to step out and see Sharon. All right, here we go.
All right, go fun, have fun.
Back.
I think everybody's back now. Yeah. So welcome back. It sounds like maybe that might have been a pretty quick session for people. So we'll hear some feedback about that as well. Does anyone have a thought about their experience as far as what you've been able to do so far in the system? Is there a word or a feeling that would describe what your kind of initial take is on Cornerstone in the process?
If I could speak for my group, and my group, please correct me, please jump in. I think since everyone was seeing it from the get-go, it was really getting acclimated with the screens. And even though we had the overview that was just presented, it's something else to when you're actually in there. And it's like, okay, well, how do I get back to this? Or where's this button or that? So I think unless people had already put in all their goals, it was really getting acclimated.
And we really had a mixed group because we had some that have already put their goals in, others who have been using the system a little bit, checking it out. So definitely different people in different places, which I think is good that we're going to offer those sessions where people can come, work in Cornerstone with HR help, which I'm sure we'll talk about towards the end of our time.
Okay. Well, maybe, I don't know if you had enough time even in this session to even formulate a question or two, but we do have a few minutes. If there's a question that maybe we can answer. I popped up the screen again as far as the landing page. Is there something that anybody would like to ask? And again, feel free to put it in chat and we can take a couple of them here, or come off mute, raise your hand, and we can answer it.
If I could speak for myself, just as a user, as well as I had entered all of my goals before and they were not there. So I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you do it, Deb, in the pilot system, or did you do
know
it?
what? I'm going to have to check. I'm hoping that I did, because there was so much information. So I can go in just under that pilot, and then I'm just going to copy and paste it all into this. Thanks.
I am putting the manuals back into the chat for folks.
I see Artie has something, making changes. How up to date is the supervisor information based on Banner system? Artie, I think you hit it right on the head. It comes from Banner, so it's populated from Banner as a source of truth. So what is in there is what has come over, but I'll also ask Dawn, is there any other insight that we can share about that?
Actually, it's fed daily. And so we're hoping that you'll see the latest and greatest. However, if there's been an organization change, but there has not been an EPAF processed, Banner won't reflect it. And so our daily feed won't reflect it. If ever you're in a situation like that, you'll work closely with your HR consultant. I know Artie doesn't need to know that, but just sharing it for those on the call.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Great question, Artie. Just going to leave the floor open for another second. So as you're thinking, it's probably that syndrome when we're first learning, right? We don't know enough to even know what we don't know to ask a question right now. So that's fine. We're going to continue on this. We knew this would be a brief overview, just a little introduction, but we're going to be here and your HR consultants as well in several sessions. There's other intros. There's again, details on the website, and I'm going to start going there as well. Again, feel free to put it in chat. I'm going to pop back to our presentation real quickly here. Oh, when you pass it, you can't go backwards. There you go. You can't go backwards. All right. All right, so continue to reach out. Oh, I see another. Are there examples in the system of SMART goals? Actually, that was a wonderful thing to answer. Let me go back. Yes, there is a SMART wizard, Artie. And it's built into the goal section. So if I'm in Cornerstone, I'm gonna go back in here to the planning section. And we have an upcoming session all about goals, about writing SMART goals, about writing goals that are more actionable, that are time bound and so forth. So in my performance goal area, now these are just prompts, but there's a little thing in here called a wizard. So let me go to my goals. Oops, can I get it from adding a goal? So, I add another goal in here, I put the title in, a few more details, and then I just want to make sure that, it is a well-written goal, that we can understand it clearly. So there's a little wizard right in Cornerstone. And as I write my goal, it's going to look and just prompt me in all of those 5 elements of SMART. Is it specific? Is it measurable? So in specific, that's where we start. Is it straightforward? Does my description have more specifics in there so I know exactly what is expected to achieve the goal? So we know why it might be more important to write something that's more specific. So here's a little prompt. Then you can hit continue and then go to each next piece of the SMART approach to writing a goal. SMART, here's measurable, maybe divide it into smaller chunks, something that we can actually observe. How do we make them more objective? And we can continue on. Actionable. Now here it's interesting, there's a little prompt. Remember, we go back to the weighting of goals. So I want to make sure that maybe it's changed a little bit. Maybe something doesn't add up to 100. So here's an opportunity to make sure that we know exactly how important this is, that we can do it with the resources and systems and knowledge and skills that we already possess. So that makes it more actionable. Is it relevant? Is it tied to our goals as a unit? Is it tied ultimately to our strategic goals at Wayne State? The more relevant and the more we understand how it contributes, the more we understand, right, what we might need to do to change a little bit to make that happen. And then, of course, timely. Are there dates? Are there, an opportunity to know when I've hit that goal? And again, we can chunk it down into smaller elements. We can have a larger goal that we cascade. Then we're going to want to talk about that. So the system itself does have that wizard right here in the goal setting area. Then we also have, again, a session coming up and resources on the website. So Artie, I'm going to go into that as well. That also will take care of SMART goals as well as maybe other questions that you might have. In fact, let me just go to the website itself. And I'm going to put this in chat for everybody. So this website is live right now. It's under our human resources area, and you can get to it where you would normally go as a leader and under managers and supervisors and employee performance management. And as a staff member, same thing, current employees, performance management. It's going to take you to the same landing page for Cornerstone conversations. So you can see that all the things that we're talking about and an introduction as well are all here so that you can review this, you can talk about it together. All of the learning and upcoming sessions are here. I'm going to come back to that in a section in a minute. The Cornerstone login, which is right through Academica, that's also here. And then there are folks who are we're stepping into this in phases, and so our represented employees, staff, and P&A are still transitioning over to this. So we still have the old forms. If you wanted to know where that was for everybody, that's right here in the manuals or the legacy system. So that should look familiar with those specific forms. And on the website, Cornerstone Learning. So this takes us to another page with all of the resources that we have available, and we will be continually adding to and updating this. So check back often. But remember, we had those key steps, those key engagement points. We have the planning stage that we're in right now. And so for this stage, we have all of these learning tools for staff, for leaders. We have the learning webinars, and right now we're all in this first one here, this introduction. That's where we're at right now, but there are more sessions for this. So if you click on it, it'll take you right to the registration that you all went to sign up for this session. Oh my gosh, where did our page go? There we go. So here we go. As far as resources and learning, all right here. And we tried to put a few things to that are coming up in a timely fashion right up front and center, so you can see where these clinics are. This is something, Julie, you just mentioned that we're going to hold for folks. And we actually have our first clinic tomorrow on Fridays. We try to have them at the end of the week. So as we start off our week with new learning, new phases of Cornerstone, we'll have supporting resources and learning opportunities for you always available. And these labs are a new way of learning that we've added, as well as these webinar sessions. And they're going to be held right in our computer lab room on campus in room 1700 in the AAB building, our academic and administrative building. Tomorrow is the first one. So you can see it 4/8. And it is live in that room where we can do the same thing we did in our breakout rooms, basically, and have an HR consultant and myself there to answer questions. So we can answer technical questions for you around the system. We can log in. You can log in on any one of the computers in the lab room. And we can also talk about some of these more process-oriented things, like how do we write SMART goals? How do we prepare for conversations with employees? Any questions like that? The hour is open. It's a free drop-in, so you can come anytime you want. We just asked people to register if they could, and we only have about 12 spots there at any given time. So we want to make sure that people have enough one-on-one time, or time to ask questions as a group. So feel free to sign up for those and come encourage your staff and leaders. Both of you are welcome at any time. It's open. And right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 sessions come in all through the month of April. All right. So we're going to wrap up a little bit. Again, I realize probably many questions, but your consultants are here to help you, of course, to partner with. I just took you through some of the resources that we have as well, our website, the clinics. All right, that was our breakout. So what's next? Remember, we said that today we just want to help a little bit, kind of jumpstart the Cornerstone basics. So when you're ready, think about getting your goals in, helping your team create their goals, because staff go in there, they submit, and then as a leader, you'll look at, you'll talk about, you'll edit, but ultimately you'll approve goals so that then we can go forward, to implement now and learn and do things that help us achieve those goals along the way. We want to help support you. So preparing for conversations, you'll see that we have the goal setting session next. We'll talk about the learning that can help support you. And we want to, encourage and support both staff and leaders to come fully take our roles. As staff, we are the drivers of our success, right? We're creating our own story. You're going to see that theme a lot in what we do. And you have help to do that along the way, including your manager, of course, our HR consultants and peers and other learning to help you do that. So we're in the driver's seat as staff. We're in the coaching seat as leaders, and together we come together and we have that system, that process that we talked about, reimagining and re-envisioning to really be a valuable process for us and really set us apart as how we work here at Wayne State. And we hope today a little bit to inspire you, to think about performance management in ways that have worked for you in the past, in ways that will now be, a little different, or that you're building on to achieve success in the future. And of course, work with your HR consultant as your first point of contact in working on this. So today, this is where we are as far as some of the learning resources that we've had. We have this introduction session. Encourage again, folks, to come. The next interaction point is finishing up this whole planning for success, right? Just the first of the three interaction points with Cornerstone. So now we're establishing our goals, performance, and learning. There's a separate session for leaders for this one and a separate session for staff. So this introduction, we were all together just to kind of get, experience it together. But the next session, if you choose to come, we encourage you to sign up for one of those. There's a separate one for leaders for our role, which is a little bit different, and staff. We talk about some of the same things because we're transparent and open. We want to use the same language, but of course we have a little bit of a different role there. So we want to enable that role. And then we'll have sessions for professional development, career planning, all in this first planning session. The next area is that circle around it. And this is what occurs outside of Cornerstone and what's really important. So we're going to talk about touching, touch points where we come together. Remember that suggestion that we have a quarterly touch with everyone. Well, we know we're doing a mid-year check-in and a final, but we know that in between those times are appropriate conversations and ways that we're encountering barriers or we need support. So all of those will be happening all throughout the cycle, not just one point in time. Then we will come back again and make sure that you're supported through all these areas. We'll think about that mid-year check-in. What does progress look like? How do we do that in Cornerstone? It's very simple. Once you get the hang of the system, you're going to find that it's very, very easy to do. And then we'll do things to get ready for that celebration of the fact that we've achieved these goals and where we're headed for the next year. So we have curriculum to support you through all of these areas. We have user guides that are for more of the process, like we say. How do I think about, myself as a whole person? How do I think about my goals? Those are in user guides specific, again, for leaders and staff. We have the drop-in clinics that we just mentioned, the website that we walked through very quickly, and then we have resources and Accelerate is our last piece. And I don't know, Julie, could you put the poll up into chat right now and then give us an extra second or two to talk about Accelerate, as well as get a little bit of feedback from those of you. I know we're getting right up to the top of the hour here, so we appreciate you hanging in there with all of us. We'll have a moment for final questions. We do have a poll because we'd like to understand your experience, just this initial experience. We met as the redesign team, and we told you some of our charter and our goals is make things more efficient, more effective, and enjoyable and accountable. So we want to know as we're going along, and we're all going to learn together. Is this actually, how do you find it? Do you find it simple? Do you find that there's an improvement? What is your confidence after each one of these sessions that you can do it? So thank you. I see people are already participating. We're going to leave that poll open right now. I'm just going to come back to Accelerate real quickly here. So Accelerate is our e-learning library. Most of you are familiar with it. I hope you are. If not, please stay on the line if you have a little time, or reach out to your HR consultant or us and we'll help you. It's navigable just like you did from your academic login. And right now in the quick links on the homepage, Cornerstone Conversations is right there. So just like you saw on the website, we have a variety of learning resources and assets here in Accelerate, right from getting started, videos, some of our guides, planning for success, the step that we're in right now, resources for leaders and staff are here. And each one of those interactions with Cornerstone are all here. These are things that are resources that were already curated in Accelerate for you, and the custom resources that we've designed and that are available for you, such as these learning sessions. So today's recording will also be in there. So as we record the learning sessions, we'll post those up there as well. All right, we've just got a couple minutes for any other questions. Feel free to come off mute or put it in chat. I'll take a quick moment to thank Julie and Deb and Dawn, our HR partners. Thank you so much. They worked very hard to create and bring you these sessions, as well as being here to support you along the way. So a big shout out to them as well. And if, again, I know we're at the end, so feel free to drop off if you're all set and you've completed the poll. Thank you so much. And if you have a question or two, we'll stay on the line for another few minutes here. But have a great day, everybody. Thanks for coming out here, and we look forward to seeing you in our next sessions as well.